Hey there, welcome back. I'm here to help you relax tonight. Before we slip into the shadows, like and subscribe to uncover more stories like this. Let me know in the comments where are you listening from and what time is it there. It really brings our community together. Now, dim the lights for that cozy vibe and stick around till the end. Let's dive into the unknown. The job posting on the Environmental Remediation Board had seemed too good to be true. Site supervisor for an abandoned industrial cleanup project. 12-month contract. Pay was almost triple what other cleanup sites offered. Benefits started immediately, housing stipend included. I pulled my truck into the gravel lot at 5:45 a.m., 15 minutes before my first shift was supposed to start. The factory loomed against the gray October sky like a corpse that refused to lie down properly. 5 stories of rust-streaked concrete and shattered windows. The chain-link fence surrounding the property had gaps big enough to drive through. A white pickup sat near the main entrance. As I parked beside it, a man stepped out. Late 50s weathered face, the kind of tired eyes that suggested he'd seen things he'd rather forget. "Claire Donovan?" he called out. I grabbed my hard hat and clipboard. "That's me. Rick Patterson. I run this site." His handshake was brief but firm. "Thanks for coming on board. We've been short-staffed." I'd noticed that during the interview process. The company had been desperate to fill the supervisor position. 3 interviews condensed into 1 week. Offer letter sent the same day as my final interview. I'd assumed it was just a labor shortage everyone kept talking about. "Happy to be here," I said, though standing in front of the decaying factory made that statement feel hollow. Rick gestured toward the entrance. "Let's get you inside. I'll show you around before the crew arrives." The factory's interior matched its exterior. Decades of rust, decay, and neglect. Our footsteps echoed through empty corridors lined with defunct machinery. Morning light filtered through broken windows, creating patterns on the oil-stained concrete floor. "This place closed in 1987, Rick explained as we walked. "Chemical processing plant. Made industrial solvents and cleaning compounds. The company went bankrupt after an incident." "What kind of incident?" Rick's jaw tightened. "The kind that gets buried in paperwork. 7 workers died. The official report blamed equipment failure, but..." He trailed off. We reached what had once been the main production floor. Equipment hulked in the shadows, like mechanical dinosaurs. The smell of old chemicals and rust was everywhere. "Before we go further, I need to go over the site rules." Rick pulled a laminated card from his jacket pocket. "These aren't standard OSHA guidelines. They're specific to this location and they're mandatory." I'd expected safety protocols about HAZMAT suits and contamination zones. What Rick read off that card was something else entirely. Rule 1. Never work alone in the sublevels. Always have a partner and always maintain visual contact with that partner. I nodded, making notes on my clipboard. Buddy system made sense for hazardous environments. Rule 2. If you hear machinery running, leave the building immediately. Don't investigate. Don't try to shut it off. Just get out and report to me. I looked up from my notes. But everything's been shut down for decades, right? Exactly, Rick said flatly. If you hear machinery, something's wrong. A chill crept up my spine that had nothing to do with the morning cold. Rule 3. Between 2 hours and 4 a.m., the security office must remain locked with someone inside. No patrols during those hours. No exceptions. Why those specific hours? Rick's expression didn't change. That's when the incident happened. 2:37 a.m., October 15th, 1987. Rule 4. If someone in your crew starts talking about hearing voices or seeing people who aren't on the roster, report it immediately. Don't engage with their claims. Don't investigate what they say they saw. My pen hovered over the clipboard. These rules were starting to sound less like safety protocols and more like something from a ghost story. Rule 5. The north wing is off limits. The doors are chained and marked with yellow tape. Those chains stay on. No one enters for any reason. What's in the north wing? Nothing anyone needs to see, Rick said. Rule 6. At exactly 6 p.m., do a complete crew count. Every person accounted for by name. If someone's missing, we initiate emergency procedures immediately. Rule 7. Don't trust the elevator. Use the stairs. The elevator car has been disconnected, but sometimes the cables move anyway. I stared at the card Rick was reading from. Sometimes the cables move. Sometimes the cables move, he repeated, not looking up. Rule 8. If you find personal items that don't belong to anyone on the crew, wallets, photos, tools with names on them, bring them to me. Don't try to return them. Don't ask questions about them. Rule 9. Never work during a power outage. If the generators fail, evacuate immediately. We wait until full power is restored before anyone goes back inside. Rule 10. If someone tells you they're leaving the site and you should come with them, verify their identity first. Check their ID badge. Make them state their full name and employee number. Rick finally looked up from the card. Claire, I know this sounds excessive. The company knows it sounds excessive. That's why the pay is what it is. What happened here? I asked quietly. Really happened? 7 workers died in an explosion in the chemical mixing room, Rick said. But that's not why we have these rules. The rules exist because of what started happening after the explosion. The disappearances. The equipment that runs with no power source. The things people see. He pocketed the card. In the 10 months this cleanup project has been running, we've had 8 site supervisors. Some quit after a few days. Others lasted longer. One disappeared entirely. That's why we're hiring again. And you're still here, I pointed out. Someone has to keep things contained, Rick said. Someone has to make sure the rules are followed. A door slammed somewhere deep in the building. We both jumped. Wind, Rick said, but he didn't sound convinced. Let's finish the tour. The crew will be here soon. The rest of the morning passed in a blur of procedural training. Rick showed me the security office, the equipment storage, the designated safe zones. He introduced me to the 3 other long-term staff members. Marcus Chen handled HAZMAT containment. Mid-40s, quiet, with the careful movements of someone who'd learned not to make sudden gestures around dangerous materials. Denise Fuller ran the documentation side. Every item removed from the factory had to be logged, photographed, and tracked. She was in her 30s, efficient, with a no-nonsense attitude that I immediately appreciated. And there was Tom Bradford, head of the cleanup crew. Late 20s, built like someone who'd spent his life doing physical labor. He had an easy smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Claire's taking over as site supervisor, Rick told them during our meeting in the makeshift break room. She'll be running day-to-day operations. Welcome to the weird, Denise said, not looking up from her laptop. How much did Rick tell you? The rules, I said. Tom snorted. The rules, yeah, those are fun. They keep us alive, Marcus said quietly. Follow them and you'll be fine. And if I don't? All 3 of them looked at me. The silence stretched uncomfortably. Then you end up like Patterson, Denise finally said. The previous supervisor, the one who disappeared. Rick cleared his throat. James Patterson. No relation to me, despite the last name. He was here for 3 months. Good worker, followed most of the rules. Most? I asked. He got curious about the north wing, Tom said. Wanted to know what was behind those chains. One night he came back to the site alone. Security cameras showed him cutting the chains and entering the north wing at 11:47 p.m. "Let me guess," I said. "He never came out." "Oh, he came out," Marcus corrected. 3 hours later, walked right past the security camera, got in his truck and drove away, except it wasn't really him, Denise finished. His wife called the next day, said James had come home but wouldn't speak, wouldn't eat, just stood at the window staring at nothing. She took him to the hospital. The doctors couldn't find anything wrong, but he never spoke again. He's in a care facility now. I felt my coffee going cold in my hand. And we're still working here because the contamination needs to be cleaned up, Rick said. The chemicals that were stored here are leaking into the groundwater. If we don't remove them, they'll poison the whole area. This isn't optional work, Claire. It's necessary. Then why not bring in a bigger crew? Get it done faster. We tried that, Tom said. First month of the project, we had 20 people on site. Within 2 weeks, half of them had quit. The other half, he trailed off. The other half started seeing things, Marcus said, hearing things. 3 of them had complete breakdowns, had to be hospitalized. The company realized that smaller crews were more manageable, easier to maintain the rules with fewer people. Rick stood up. Your crew for the day shift will start arriving in about 20 minutes. 8 people total. They're all veterans of the site. They know the rules. Your job is to coordinate their work, handle any issues, and make sure everyone follows protocol. What about night shift? I asked. We don't run night shifts anymore, Denise said. After 6 p.m., only security remains on site. 1 guard in the security office, locked in, following Rule 3. The morning briefing ended. Rick left to handle some administrative work, and I was suddenly alone in my new office. A converted storage room with a desk, a filing cabinet, and a window that looked out over the main production floor. I spent the next hour reviewing the site documentation, cleanup schedules, safety reports, incident logs. The incident logs made for disturbing reading. September 3rd, worker reported hearing machinery in sublevel 2. Evacuation protocols followed. No machinery found running. September 10th, 2 crew members saw a figure in a white HAZMAT suit in the North Wing corridor. No authorized personnel in that area. The figure vanished when approached. September 18th, power outage at 2:15 a.m. Security guard evacuated per protocol. Returned at dawn to find all equipment moved to different locations. September 24th, worker found unconscious in sublevel 1. Claims to have been grabbed from behind. Security footage shows her standing alone, then suddenly collapsing. No other personnel visible on tape. The pattern was clear. Something was wrong with this place. Wrong in ways that couldn't be explained by old buildings or chemical contamination. A knock at my door pulled me from the reports. Hey, boss. Tom stood in the doorway. Crew's here. Ready for morning assignments? I grabbed my clipboard and hard hat. Let's do this. The day crew consisted of 8 workers, just as Rick had said. Tom introduced me to each one. Janet Kowalski, HAZMAT specialist, 52, grandmother of 3. She'd been on the site since the beginning. Mike Brennan, equipment operator, 38, former military. Quiet, professional, always scanning his surroundings like he expected trouble. Lisa Yamamoto, documentation assistant working under Denise, 26, fresh out of college with a degree in environmental science. Kevin Murphy, general labor, 41, supporting a family of 5 with this job's wages. Angela Reeves, chemical analysis, 35, precise and methodical in everything she did. Carlos Mendoza, structural assessment, 47, an engineer who specialized in determining if buildings were safe to work in. Rachel White, equipment maintenance, 29, could fix anything mechanical. And finally, Derek Foster, youngest of the crew at 24, general labor, trying to save money for graduate school. All right, I addressed the group. I know you all know the rules, but let's review them anyway. Consider it my first day paranoia. I went through each rule, confirming that everyone understood. They nodded along, some of them mouthing the words as I spoke. These weren't new procedures for them. These were survival requirements they'd internalized. Today's priority is continuing the HAZMAT removal from the East Wing, second floor, I continued, checking my notes. Janet and Angela, you're on chemical containment. Mike, you're running the equipment. Tom, you're coordinating the physical removal. Everyone else, you know your assignments. The crew dispersed to their tasks. I spent the morning making rounds, checking on each team, ensuring protocols were followed. Everything seemed normal, professional, just another cleanup job at an old factory. Then, around 11:30 a.m., Derek approached me. His face was pale. "Boss, I need to show you something." I followed him to the East Wing, second floor. The crew was taking a break, eating lunch in the designated safe zone. Derek led me down a corridor away from the others. I found this while moving some old barrels. He pointed to the wall. Someone had scratched words into the concrete. The letters were deep, gouged with something sharp and with considerable force. "They're still here. Don't let them see you." The north wing door must stay closed. Below that, in different handwriting, "Get out while you can." And below that, fresher than the others, possibly only days old, "James was right. Patterson was right." "Patterson," I said quietly. "James Patterson, the supervisor who disappeared." "Yeah," Derek said. "Everyone on the crew knows what happened to him. This message, boss, what if he was trying to warn us about something?" I took photos of the wall with my phone. "Have you told anyone else about this?" "Just you. I found it about 20 minutes ago." "Good. Let's keep it between us for now." I studied the scratched letters. "Go back to the group, take your lunch break, we'll discuss this later." After Derek left, I stood alone in the corridor, staring at the warnings. The concrete around the letters showed signs of stress fractures, as if whoever had scratched them had been desperate, frantic. My phone buzzed. Text from Rick. "My office, now." I found him at his desk, looking at his computer screen with a grim expression. "We have a problem," he said, turning the monitor so I could see. Security camera footage from last night. Timestamp 2:47 a.m. The image showed the main production floor, empty and dark. Then, a figure walked into frame. A person in a white hazmat suit moving with an odd, jerky gait. The figure stopped in the center of the floor, turned its head slowly from side to side, then walked toward the north wing corridor. The footage cut to another camera. The figure was gone. "That was during the lockdown hours," Rick said. "Security guard was locked in the office per protocol. He didn't see this happen." "Who was it?" I asked, though part of me already knew the answer wouldn't be simple. "No one. We had no personnel on site except the security guard, and he never left the office. I've reviewed his logs. He followed every rule exactly." "Then who?" "Not who," Rick interrupted. "What?" He closed the video file. "Claire, this is why the rules exist. Something in this factory doesn't want to be forgotten. The incident in 1987, the 7 workers who died, something survived that explosion. Something that wears human shapes but isn't human." I thought about the warnings scratched into the concrete, about James Patterson, who'd broken the rules and lost himself, about 8 previous supervisors who'd quit or disappeared. Why didn't you tell me this before I accepted the job? "Would you have believed me?" Rick asked. "Would you have taken the job?" He was right. If someone had told me a story about supernatural entities in an abandoned factory, I would have laughed and walked away. The company knows, Rick continued. They don't publicize it, obviously, but they know. That's why the pay is so high. Why the benefits are so good. They're paying for people to work in a containment zone. Containment of what exactly? Whatever those workers became when they died, or maybe they didn't die, maybe the explosion changed them. Trapped them here. The investigators who came after the incident found chemical residues that shouldn't have existed. Compounds that don't match anything in the periodic table. The company sealed the north wing and put guards on the site, but that wasn't enough. The things kept trying to get out, kept trying to reach other people. Rick opened his desk drawer and pulled out another laminated card. This one was different from the rule card, covered in dense text. This is the emergency protocol. If the rules are broken, if something gets past the containment measures, you follow these instructions exactly. I took the card. The instructions were chilling. Evacuate all personnel immediately. Seal all exits except the main entrance. Call the emergency number. Don't use 911. Do not re-enter under any circumstances. Special response team will arrive within 2 hours. Special response team? I asked. Private contractors. The company has them on retainer. They know how to handle situations. This is insane. We're cleaning up toxic chemicals at a factory that's haunted by something that may or may not be the ghosts of dead workers. Not ghosts, Rick corrected. Something else. Something that shouldn't exist but does. I pocketed both cards. And you expect me to just accept this and keep working here? I expect you to follow the rules, pay your bills with the excellent salary, and eventually train your own replacement when you decide you've had enough. Rick's expression softened slightly. I know it's a lot, Claire, but the alternative is worse. If this site shuts down, the contamination spreads. If the containment fails, whatever's in that north wing gets out. The rules keep everyone safe, inside and outside. I left Rick's office feeling like I'd stepped into someone else's nightmare. But I thought about my bills, about my aging parents who needed help with their medical expenses, about the opportunities this salary provided. I thought about doing the right thing, keeping the contamination from spreading, and I thought about the rules. 10 simple rules that stood between me and something I couldn't fully understand. I could follow rules. I'd followed rules my whole life. How hard could it be? The rest of the day passed without incident. At 5:45 p.m., I gathered the crew for the mandatory count. Everyone accounted for, everyone ready to leave. Good work today, I told them. Same time tomorrow. Stay safe. As they filed out, Tom hung back. You saw the security footage, he said. Not a question. Rick showed me. Tom nodded. It happens maybe once a month. Sometimes more. The things in the white suits, they walk the production floor during the lockdown hours. Never interact with the security guards as long as the guards stay locked in the office. Has anyone ever tried talking to them? James Patterson tried. Tom's expression darkened. He came back to the site one night, deliberately during lockdown hours. Security cameras showed him standing in the main floor, waiting. One of the figures approached him. They stood facing each other for almost 5 minutes. Then Patterson followed it into the north wing. And that's when he stopped being himself. Yeah. Tom pulled on his jacket. Whatever those things are, they're not human, not anymore. Maybe they were once. But that explosion, whatever happened, it changed them. Made them into something else. After Tom left, I finished my paperwork and locked up my office. The building felt different in the evening light. Darker, more oppressive. I could hear the building settling, metal creaking, pipes groaning. Normal sounds, old building sounds. I kept telling myself that as I walked to my truck. The first week passed quickly. I fell into a routine: arrive early, brief the crew, coordinate the day's work, file reports, go home exhausted. The rules became second nature. Don't work alone in the sublevels. Listen for machinery that shouldn't be running. Lock the security office between 2 SAC and 4 LACUNT AM. Stay away from the north wing. On Friday, I met the night security guard for the first time. Curtis Ramsey, 61, retired police officer. He arrived at 6 p.m. sharp, just as I was finishing the evening crew count. "You're the new supervisor," he said, shaking my hand. "Rick told me about you." "Claire Donovan." "Curtis. Listen, I want to go over something with you." He gestured toward the security office. "Mind taking a walk?" The security office was small but well equipped. Multiple monitors showed feeds from cameras throughout the factory. A reinforced door with interior locks. Emergency supplies stocked in a closet. "Between 2 an and 4 nas AM, I lock myself in here," Curtis said. "No patrols, no investigations. I watch the monitors and I don't open this door no matter what." "What happens during those hours?" Curtis pulled up saved footage on one of the monitors. Multiple clips, all time-stamped between 2 and 4 AM. Figures in white hazmat suits walking the corridors. Equipment moving on its own. Shadows that didn't match any physical object. Lights flickering in patterns that seemed almost deliberate. "Every night," Curtis said. "Same time frame. Whatever they are, they're bound by some kind of schedule. They appear, they move through the factory, and then they disappear before 4 AM. Has anyone ever broken the lockdown rule?" Curtis's jaw tightened. 3 months ago, a guard named Dennis Wong decided he was going to investigate. Thought he could handle whatever was out there. He left the office at 2:30 AM. The cameras showed him confronting one of the figures in the main production floor. What happened? Dennis started screaming. The audio on the cameras picked it up. He screamed for 7 minutes straight. Then he stopped. He walked back into frame, stood in the middle of the floor, and just waited. Stood there until 4 AM, perfectly still. When dawn came, he walked out of the factory and got in his car. His family reported him missing 2 days later. Missing? But he left the site? The man who left the site wasn't Dennis anymore. Whatever walked out wearing his face wasn't him. The real Dennis was gone. Curtis closed the footage files. "So, yeah, I follow Rule 3 religiously. I lock myself in this office, I watch the monitors, and I don't open this door until 4 AM. And I strongly suggest that if you ever find yourself here during those hours, you do the exact same thing." I drove home that night thinking about Dennis Wong, about James Patterson, about all the people who'd been changed or lost by whatever existed in that factory. The weekend provided a brief respite from the strangeness. I caught up on sleep, helped my parents with some home repairs, tried to convince myself I was overreacting to a strange situation. But Monday morning, I was back at the factory, reviewing the weekend security logs. Curtis had been on duty Saturday and Sunday nights. His notes were brief but consistent. 2:04 AM. Standard lockdown activity observed. 3 figures in hazmat suits. No attempts to breach security office. All clear by 4 AM. The work week started normally. The crew arrived on time, everyone accounted for. I assigned tasks, coordinated with Marcus and Denise on hazmat procedures, checked in with Tom about equipment needs. Around 10:30 AM, Mike Brennan approached me while I was inspecting the East Wing cleanup progress. "Boss, got a minute? What's up?" Mike looked uncomfortable. "It's about Kevin Murphy. He's been off today." "Off how?" "Talking to himself. Standing in one spot for too long. And he keeps looking at the North Wing corridor like he wants to go down there." Rule 4. If someone starts talking about hearing voices or seeing things, report it immediately. Where is he now? Sub-level 1 with Derek. They're doing inventory on the chemical barrels. I followed Mike down to the sub-level. The temperature dropped noticeably as we descended. The overhead lights were spaced further apart here, creating pools of shadow between islands of light. Kevin and Derek were near the far end, both wearing HAZMAT suits, both checking barrel labels against a manifest. Kevin's movement seemed normal enough, but as I approached, I heard him muttering, "Just want to see, just need to know. They're calling." "Kevin," I said firmly, "can I talk to you for a minute?" He looked up, his eyes focusing slowly as if he'd been somewhere else mentally. "Sure, boss." I pulled him aside, away from Derek. "Mike says you've been distracted today. Everything okay?" "I'm fine." But his eyes drifted back toward the stairwell leading up to the ground floor, toward the north wing. "Kevin, look at me." I waited until he did. "Have you been hearing voices?" "No, I mean..." He struggled with the words. "Not voices exactly, more like a feeling. Like someone's calling my name, like they need my help." "Coming from where?" "The north wing." He said it without hesitation. "Something in there needs help. Someone's trapped. I keep hearing." He stopped, shaking his head. "But that's crazy, right? The north wing is empty, sealed, nobody's in there." I remembered the security footage, the figures in hazmat suits, the warnings scratched into concrete. "Kevin, I need you to go home early today." "What? No, I need the hours." "Full pay. You'll get full pay for the day, but I need you off-site right now. Whatever you're feeling, whatever you think you're hearing, it's not safe." "Boss, I can't afford to..." "Full pay," I repeated firmly. "I'm not punishing you. I'm protecting you and everyone else here." Kevin wanted to argue. I could see it in his face, but something in my expression must have convinced him. He nodded slowly. "Okay, yeah, maybe I could use some rest." I had Tom escort Kevin to his car, making sure he actually left the site. Then I called Rick. "We've got a situation. Kevin Murphy started responding to something from the north wing. I sent him home, but I'm worried." "You did the right thing," Rick said immediately. "I'll call him this evening, check on his status. In the meantime, watch the rest of the crew. If this is starting with Kevin, others might be affected too." The rest of the day, I watched everyone carefully, looking for signs of distraction, of hearing things, of being called by whatever existed beyond those chained doors in the north wing. Everyone seemed normal, professional, focused on their work. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed, that whatever existed in the factory had decided to become more active. At 6 p.m., I did the crew count. Everyone accounted for. Everyone heading home safely. Except, I couldn't stop thinking about Kevin, about the way his eyes had looked, the certainty in his voice when he talked about someone needing help in the north wing. I called him at 7 p.m. after I'd gotten home. "Hey, boss." He sounded better, more like himself. "Sorry about today. I don't know what came over me." "How are you feeling now?" "Better, clearer, it's weird, but as soon as I left the site, the feeling stopped, like someone turned off a switch in my head." "Have you felt anything since you got home?" "Nothing. I'm completely fine now." We talked for a few more minutes. Kevin promised to call if the feelings returned. I reminded him to take the next day off, just to be safe. He agreed reluctantly. After hanging up, I sat in my living room, staring at nothing. The factory was affecting people, calling to them. Kevin had been drawn to the north wing, just like James Patterson had been. I pulled out the rule card Rick had given me on my first day. Studied each rule, understanding now why they were so specific, why breaking them had such severe consequences. These weren't arbitrary regulations. They were survival instructions, lessons learned through loss and tragedy. My phone buzzed. Text from Curtis. "Something's different tonight. More activity than usual. Stay away from the site." I texted back, "What kind of activity?" "Cameras showing figures in places they've never been before. Closer to the security office. Testing the boundaries, just stay away." That night, I barely slept. I kept thinking about Kevin, about the way he'd described the feeling of being called. I thought about James Patterson, about Dennis Wong, about all the people who'd been lost to whatever existed in that factory. And I thought about my responsibilities, to my crew, to the community depending on this contamination cleanup, to myself and my family who needed this income. The rules kept everyone safe. I just had to make sure everyone followed them, no matter what. Tuesday morning arrived cold and overcast. I reached the factory at 5:40 a.m., earlier than usual. Curtis's truck was still in the lot. He usually left by 6 a.m., but today he was waiting for me. "We need to talk." His face was drawn, exhausted. Last night was bad, really bad. In the security office, he showed me the footage. My hands went cold as I watched. The figures in white hazmat suits had appeared as usual at 2 a.m., but instead of their normal wandering pattern, they'd moved with purpose. Gathering in the main production floor, standing in a circle. At 2:37 a.m., the exact time of the original incident in 1987, all of them had turned to face the security office camera simultaneously. "They've never done that before," Curtis said quietly. "Never acknowledged the cameras. Never showed that level of coordination. What does it mean? It means they're getting stronger, more aware, something's changing." The footage continued. At 3:15 a.m., one of the figures had approached the security office door, stood there for 20 minutes. Curtis had watched on the monitors as it pressed a suited hand against the reinforced door. "I could hear it," Curtis said. Through the door, a voice, not speaking exactly, more like humming. A frequency that made my teeth ache and my head pound. I almost opened the door, Claire, almost. The urge was overwhelming, like my hand was reaching for the lock on its own. "But you didn't." "I didn't." Curtis rubbed his face. "But it was close. Whatever's in this factory, it's getting more aggressive, testing the rules, pushing the boundaries." As the crew arrived for the day shift, I kept Curtis's warning to myself. No point in causing panic, but I watched everyone carefully, looking for signs of distraction or distress. Kevin had called in sick. He texted me at 5 a.m., apologizing but saying he couldn't come in. The feeling had returned during the night. The sense of being called. He'd driven halfway to the factory before pulling over and calling Rick instead. Rick had told him to stay home for the week. Paid leave, no questions asked. "We should hire a replacement," I suggested to Rick during our morning call. "No, smaller crew is safer. We'll distribute Kevin's tasks among the others." The morning passed tensely. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to happen. Every sound made me jump. Every shadow looked threatening. At 11:15 a.m., the lights flickered. 3 times. Everyone stopped working. Looked up, remembered Rule 6. "Okay," I said, keeping my voice calm despite my racing heart. "Everyone to the break room, now." The crew moved quickly, professionally. No panic, but no wasted time either. We gathered in the designated safe zone, and I did a head count. 7. We should have 8, but Kevin was home. 7 was correct. "We wait 7 minutes, I told them. Then the power went out completely. Darkness swallowed the factory. Emergency lights should have kicked in, they didn't. "Stay together," I said, pulling out my phone for light. Others did the same, creating small pools of illumination in the pitch black. Rule 9. Never work during a power outage. Evacuate immediately. We're leaving, I announced. Everyone stays together. We go straight to the main entrance. Don't stop. Don't investigate anything, just get out. We moved as a group, our phone lights bobbing in the darkness. The corridors seemed longer than usual, the shadows deeper. I could hear the building settling around us, metal groaning, concrete creaking. Normal sounds, just normal sounds, except for the footsteps, heavy, rhythmic, coming from behind us. Keep moving, I said, not looking back. Don't stop. The footsteps grew closer. One set became 2, then 3. Someone in the group whimpered. I couldn't tell who. Almost there, Tom said from the front of our group. Main entrance is just ahead. The footsteps stopped. In the sudden silence, we could hear breathing. Not our own, something else. Multiple sources surrounding us in the darkness. Run. My voice cracked. Everyone run. We bolted. Any pretense of calm professionalism shattered. It was pure panic. Everyone sprinting toward the exit, phone lights swinging wildly, illuminating brief glimpses of the corridor, and brief glimpses of figures in white hazmat suits standing perfectly still in our path. We swerved around them, nobody daring to make contact. I was in the back, making sure nobody fell behind. I could feel something behind me, feel the presence, the wrongness. Don't look back, don't look back. Tom reached the main entrance first, slammed his body against the door. It was locked. No, 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 Lisa gasped. It shouldn't be locked. It's never locked during the day. Mike joined Tom, both of them throwing their weight against the door. It didn't budge. The breathing behind us grew louder, closer. Window, Derek shouted, pointing to a ground floor window we'd passed. We can break through. We scrambled back down the corridor. The figures in hazmat suits moved to block our path, forcing us to weave between them. Nobody spoke. Nobody screamed. We were beyond that, pure survival instinct driving us forward. Derek reached the window first, used a metal pipe to smash the glass. He knocked out the remaining shards and dove through. Tom followed, then Mike, then Angela. I helped Rachel through, then Denise, then Lisa. Tom and Mike reached back through to help pull me out. As my feet left the floor of the factory, I looked back. The corridor was filled with figures, dozens of them, more than I'd ever seen in the security footage, all standing motionless in the darkness, all facing us. Then strong hands yanked me through the window, and I was outside, gasping in the cold morning air, bleeding from minor cuts, but alive. We gathered in the parking lot, doing another head count. 7. Everyone accounted for. Carlos appeared from around the building, looking confused. What's going on? I was in the equipment shed. Why is everyone... Carlos. Janet hugged him. We thought you were with us. I came in late, he explained. I was working in the shed when the power went out. I heard you all running, but by the time I got to the main building, everyone was gone. 8. With Carlos, we had 8, but we'd counted 7 inside. I felt ice forming in my stomach. Who did we leave behind? Everyone looked at each other, confused, trying to remember who'd been in our group. Kevin's home, Tom said, so it should be 7 plus Carlos makes 8. There were 8 of us inside, I said slowly. Before we ran, I counted. There were 8. The factory loomed behind us, dark and silent. The power was still out. Marcus, Denise whispered. Where's Marcus? We'd forgotten him. Somehow, in the panic, we'd forgotten Marcus Chen even existed until this moment. He was with us, Janet said uncertainly. Wasn't he? But none of us could clearly remember seeing Marcus in the break room, or running through the corridors, or climbing out the window. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands and called Rick. We had an incident, power failure. We evacuated, but what? Marcus is missing, or maybe he's not. Maybe he was never there today. I realized how crazy that sounded. "Rick, I don't know what's happening. We all remember Marcus being here, but none of us can remember actually seeing him after the power went out." Silence on the line. "Rick, get everyone off site. Now, I'm calling the emergency number. The response team will be there in 2 hours." "What about Marcus?" "If he's still human, they'll find him. If he's not..." Rick's voice was heavy. "Then there's nothing we can do." I gathered the crew. "Everyone goes home. Full pay for the day. Don't come back tomorrow. Wait for my call before returning to the site." "What about Marcus?" Carlos asked. The same question I'd asked Rick. "The company is sending a special team to search for him." Lisa was crying. "He has a daughter. She's only 6. What do we tell her if..." I had no answer. We left the factory. 7 of us drove away, leaving Marcus Chen's fate unknown. At home, I tried to remember Marcus clearly. Tried to picture his face, recall our conversations, remember specific interactions. But the memories were fuzzy, like trying to recall a dream after waking. I knew Marcus. I'd worked with him for 2 weeks, but I couldn't quite bring his features into focus in my mind. My phone rang at 2 p.m. "Rick, the response team just finished their sweep of the factory. They found Marcus. Is he okay?" "Physically, he's unharmed. Mentally..." Rick paused. "He was in the north wing, sitting on the floor beyond the chained doors. The chains were intact, but somehow he'd gotten through them. He was just sitting there, staring at the wall. Can he talk? He can talk, but he's not making sense. Keeps saying he was never real, that none of this is real, that he's been dead since 1987. The incident in 1987, the explosion. 7 workers dead, 7. Rick, how many of those workers were never identified after the explosion?" Another long pause. 3 bodies were too damaged to identify conclusively. The families held funerals with closed caskets. DNA testing wasn't as advanced back then. What were their names? Why does it matter? Just tell me. I heard papers shuffling. Robert Chen, Michael Porter, Thomas Bradford. Chen, Marcus's last name, Bradford, Tom's last name. Rick, what's Marcus's full name? Marcus Robert Chen? I felt reality tilting. And our equipment coordinator, Tom Bradford. What's his full name? Thomas Bradford, Jr. Rick's voice was barely a whisper. Oh God, Claire, what are you thinking? I'm thinking we need to check employment records, birth certificates, social security numbers. I'm thinking we need to verify that the people working at this site are actually who they claim to be. The response team is already doing that. Claire. Rick's voice shook. If what you're suggesting is true, if those workers in 1987 somehow survived, somehow became something else, and they've been integrating themselves into the cleanup crew, then the contamination isn't the real problem, I finished. The real problem is what the explosion created, and it's been spreading, replacing people. Marcus was the first one we noticed because the power outage disrupted whatever lets them maintain their disguises. The response team has locked down the site. No one goes in or out without verification. They're bringing in equipment to check everyone. Blood tests, biometric scans, the works. What about the crew? My people? Everyone will be checked, including you. The team will contact each person individually over the next 24 hours. I hung up, feeling numb, thinking about Tom Bradford, thinking about the easy way he'd explained the factory's history, the way he'd known exactly what happened to James Patterson, the way he'd guided our escape during the power outage. Had Tom been trying to protect us, or had he been hurting us for some other purpose? My apartment felt too quiet, too empty. I kept looking at the shadows in the corners, wondering if one of them might suddenly reveal itself as something that had followed me home. At 9 p.m., there was a knock at my door. I looked through the peephole. 2 people in suits stood in the hallway. They held up identification badges. "Ms. Donovan, we're with the company's Special Response Division. We need to ask you some questions." I let them in. They introduced themselves as Agent Sarah Morrison and Agent James Knight. Both carried equipment cases that looked more scientific than investigative. "We need to verify your identity," Morrison said apologetically. "It's standard procedure after an incident, like this." The process took an hour. Blood samples, retinal scans, fingerprint verification, even DNA swabs. They asked detailed questions about my personal history, checking my answers against records they'd pulled up on a tablet. Finally, Morrison nodded. "You're clear. You're human, completely human." As opposed to what? Knight and Morrison exchanged glances. "The entity that was Marcus Chen wasn't human," Knight explained. "At least not anymore. The blood tests showed anomalies that don't exist in nature. His DNA was human, but it was all identical. No genetic variation, like someone had photocopied human DNA rather than inheriting it naturally." "What about the others? The rest of the crew?" "We've verified 5 so far, all human, all clear." Morrison consulted her tablet. "We're still trying to reach Tom Bradford and Mike Brennan. Neither is answering their phones." Tom Bradford, of course. "When was the last time anyone saw them?" I asked. Both left the factory immediately after the evacuation. Surveillance cameras in the parking lot show them getting into their vehicles, but Morrison pulled up footage on her tablet. "Watch this." The footage showed Tom getting into his truck. He closed the door. The truck didn't move for 3 minutes. Then the door opened and Tom stepped out. Except it wasn't quite Tom. The figure looked like Tom, moved like Tom, but there was something slightly off about the proportions, like a photograph that had been stretched in one direction. The figure walked back toward the factory building, passing through the chain-link fence without opening the gate, just walking through solid metal as if it weren't there. "There were 8 people inside during the evacuation," I said quietly. "We counted 7, but there were 8. One of them wasn't crew. One of them was something else, and we brought it right to the exit." Morrison and Knight looked at each other again. "Miss Donovan," Knight said carefully, "the company is shutting down the cleanup operation, permanently. The factory will be sealed with more extensive measures. No one will be allowed inside." "What about the contamination? The chemicals in the groundwater?" "There are no chemicals," Morrison said. "There never were. The contamination story was a cover. The real purpose of the cleanup operation was to contain and study what happened in 1987, to understand what the explosion created." I stared at her. "You've been using us as guinea pigs, seeing how the entities interact with humans. That's why the pay was so high. That's why you kept hiring new supervisors when the old ones quit." Neither agent denied it. "The research is over," Knight said. "The company has learned what it needed to know. The site will be permanently sealed. Everyone on the crew will receive full severance packages and medical monitoring for the next 10 years. "And Tom, Mike, Marcus, what happens to them?" "They'll be contained along with the factory," Morrison said quietly. "We can't let them integrate into the general population. Whatever they are, they're drawn back to the factory eventually. They always return. That's why we maintain the site. It's not a cleanup operation, it's a holding cell." After the agents left, I sat in my apartment processing everything. The job offer, the rules, the incidents, all of it had been manufactured. A controlled experiment to study entities that wore human shapes. My phone rang, unknown number. I answered cautiously. "Claire." Tom Bradford's voice. "I'm sorry, I couldn't tell you the truth. Tom, or whatever you are. I'm Tom. I was Tom. I was a real person who worked at the factory in 1987. The explosion killed me. But something in those chemicals, something we were processing, it preserved me, changed me. I'm not alive, but I'm not quite gone either. Why pretend? Why infiltrate the crew? Because I remember being human. I remember having a life, a family. I thought maybe if I could just be around humans again, feel normal again, I might be able to let go, move on to whatever comes after. And can you? Silence on the line. No, Tom finally said. I'm bound to the factory, to the chemicals that killed and preserved me. We all are, the 7 of us who died that night. We can't leave. Not really. We can pretend. We can project ourselves outside the factory for a while, but eventually we're pulled back. Marcus is being contained. They're going to seal the factory. I know, I can feel it. The boundary's closing in. It's better this way, Claire. We're not human anymore. We shouldn't be allowed to walk among the living. Tom, I'm sorry. Don't be. You followed the rules. You kept the others safe. That's what matters. A pause. Tell my sister I'm sorry. Tell her Tom loved her, even if Tom is gone. Tom Bradford Jr. You have a sister? Had. Past tense. She's probably in her 60s now. I've been dead almost 40 years, Claire. Time moves differently for us, but somewhere out there she might remember her brother who died in the factory explosion. Tell her he thought of her, even after death. The line went dead. I never went back to the factory. The company fulfilled their promise of severance and medical monitoring. The factory was sealed with additional security measures I wasn't privy to. The rest of the crew scattered. Some took the severance and moved away. Others, like Janet and Denise, stayed in the area but found different work. Kevin recovered fully once he permanently left the factory grounds, though, he told me, he still sometimes feels the pull. The sense of being called. Curtis kept working security, but at different sites. He told me he'd done his time watching impossible things. He was ready for normal, boring night shifts. I got a job with a legitimate environmental company, doing actual contamination cleanup at sites without supernatural complications. The pay was significantly less, but I slept better. 3 months after the factory was sealed, I received a letter. No return address. Inside was a single photograph. It showed the factory production floor, taken from a security camera. 7 figures in white hazmat suits stood in a circle. In the center of the circle was an 8th figure. This one wasn't wearing a suit. He was in regular work clothes, holding a hard hat. Tom Bradford Jr. The 7 figures had their hands raised, touching Tom's shoulders and head, and Tom's face, clearly visible in the grainy image, showed peace. On the back of the photograph, someone had written, "He finally let go. Thank you for giving him one last chance to feel human." I keep that photograph in my desk drawer, a reminder that some rules exist for reasons beyond simple safety. They exist to maintain boundaries between what should be and what shouldn't be, between the living and the not quite dead. I followed the rules, and I survived. Not everyone was so lucky, but I learned something important during my time at that factory. Sometimes the most dangerous places aren't haunted by angry spirits or malevolent entities. Sometimes they're haunted by people who can't let go. People who became something else but still remember being human. And sometimes the kindest thing you can do is help them remember they're not human anymore, so they can finally move on. The factory still stands, sealed and guarded. The chemicals that killed 7 workers in 1987 are still inside, along with whatever those workers became. Sometimes I drive past the site. The chain-link fence has been reinforced. The warning signs are more numerous. And on certain nights, if you look carefully, you can see lights in the windows of the north wing. 7 lights moving in a slow circle. They're contained now. Safe from the living, and the living safe from them. But I wonder if they're at peace. I hope Tom is. I hope he found whatever he was looking for. And I hope the boundaries hold. I hope the next supervisor, if there ever is one, learns the rules faster than I did. And I hope they never have to make the choices I made. 6 months later. The envelope arrived on a Tuesday morning. Heavy paper, expensive quality, with the company's logo embossed in the corner. Inside was a letter and another photograph. The letter was brief. Dear Ms. Donovan, the containment protocols at the factory site have been upgraded. During the renovations, workers discovered something we believe you should see. The enclosed photograph was found in the north wing, in a sealed room that hadn't been opened since 1987. We thought you'd want to know. Special Response Division. The photograph was old, the colors faded. It showed 7 workers in a chemical processing room. They wore protective gear and smiled at the camera. Someone had written names on the back: Robert Chen, Michael Porter, Thomas Bradford, Dennis Hayes, Maria Santos, Kevin Liu, Sarah Johnson, 7 workers, the same 7 who died in the explosion. I stared at the photograph, focusing on Thomas Bradford. He looked exactly like the Tom I'd known. Same face, same build, same slight smile. My phone rang. Unknown number again. Against my better judgment, I answered. Claire. A woman's voice this time. My name is Dr. Elizabeth Hart. I'm the lead researcher studying the factory incident. I don't work for the company anymore. I know, but I need your help. What happened at the factory, what happened to those 7 workers, it's not unique. We've identified 11 other sites worldwide with similar incidents, places where industrial accidents created something that defies explanation. Why are you telling me this? Because you survived. You followed the rules and maintained boundaries with entities that wanted to cross them. You showed both caution and compassion. We need people like you. Need me for what? To help contain other sites, to help develop protocols, to train new supervisors and security personnel. Dr. Hart paused. The factory you worked at isn't the only holding cell, Claire, and it won't be the last. I thought about Tom's final words, about Marcus sitting in the north wing, claiming he'd been dead since 1987. About all the people who'd been lost or changed. I don't want that life, I said. I don't want to spend my career managing boundaries between the living and the dead. I understand, but the work needs to be done. The entities need to be contained. And the people doing that work need to understand what they're dealing with. They need to understand that rules aren't just bureaucracy, they're survival. Find someone else. There is no one else. Not with your experience, not with your understanding. Dr. Hart's voice softened. You don't have to decide now, but think about it. Think about all the other factories and warehouses and facilities where something went wrong, where workers died or disappeared or became something else. Think about the people living near those sites not knowing what's contained there. She gave me a number to call if I changed my mind, then hung up. I looked at the photograph again. 7 workers who'd become something else. 7 people who'd been trapped between life and death for nearly 40 years. And I thought about the rules. 10 simple rules that had kept me alive. Rules that other supervisors had broken. Rules that had cost them their humanity or their minds. Someone had written those rules. Someone had learned, through trial and error and loss, what boundaries needed to be maintained. Maybe it was time for me to help write new rules for other sites. Maybe that was my responsibility now. I picked up my phone and dialed the number Dr. Hart had given me. She answered on the first ring. I have conditions, I said. I won't work alone. I want a full team. And I want complete transparency about what we're dealing with. No more experiments using unwitting workers as test subjects. Agreed, Dr. Hart said immediately. When can you start? Give me a week to settle my affairs. Then I'm in. After hanging up, I pulled out the laminated rule card I'd kept from the factory. 10 rules that had saved my life. I'd be writing more rules soon, for different sites, different entities, different dangers. But the principle would remain the same. Understand the boundaries, respect them, and never assume you can control what shouldn't exist in the first place. The first assignment. Dr. Hart's facility was nothing like I'd expected. Not a laboratory or office building, but a converted military base in rural Montana. High-security fences, armed guards, and buildings that looked abandoned from the outside but hummed with activity within. She met me at the main gate personally. "Welcome to the Containment Research Division," she said, shaking my hand. "We prefer the acronym CRD, less ominous than our unofficial name, which is the Ghost Squad." She smiled grimly. "Not entirely inaccurate, though what we deal with isn't exactly ghosts." Dr. Hart was in her early 50s with sharp eyes and the bearing of someone who'd seen impossible things and adapted accordingly. She led me through security checkpoints and into a conference room where 3 other people waited. "Your team," she said. "Everyone here has experience with anomalous sites." The introductions were brief but revealing. Agent Sarah Morrison, one of the agents who'd verified my identity after the factory incident. She specialized in entity identification and threat assessment. Dr. Raymond Park, a physicist who studied the energy signatures associated with anomalous sites. Late 30s, Korean American, with the intense focus of someone obsessed with understanding the impossible. And Lieutenant Marcus Webb, former military, now heading security operations for CRD. African American, early 40s, with scars that suggested he'd learned about entity containment the hard way. "We've been monitoring a site in Ohio," Dr. Hart began, pulling up information on a large screen. A meat processing plant that closed in 1993 after a refrigeration malfunction. 12 workers died, trapped in a freezer when the doors locked and the temperature dropped to -40. The screen showed photographs of an abandoned industrial building. Broken windows, overgrown parking lot, chain-link fence tagged with graffiti. For 30 years, the site sat empty. Local urban explorers avoided it, said the place felt wrong. Then, 6 months ago, a development company bought the property. They sent a crew to begin demolition preparations. Dr. Hart clicked to the next slide. A photograph of workers standing outside the building, looking shaken. 3 workers entered the building. Only 2 came out. The third, Daniel Martinez, vanished. Security footage shows him entering, but never leaving. Police searched the entire facility. No trace of him. "Let me guess," I said. "The company sent more people in." A security guard named Phil Chen went in to search for Daniel. Phil came out, but according to his family, he's not the same. He's cold to the touch. His body temperature registers at 58 degrees Fahrenheit, and he doesn't breathe. Lieutenant Webb pulled up medical reports. Chen's been hospitalized 3 times. Doctors can't explain his condition. He's alive by all measurable standards, brain activity, cardiac function, but his body operates at temperatures that should cause hypothermia and death. "The 12 workers who died in 1993, I said. "They froze to death, and now, people who enter the building are coming out changed, transformed into something cold." "Exactly," Dr. Hart confirmed. "We need to establish containment protocols before more people are affected. And we need to understand what happened to Daniel Martinez. If he's still inside, still human, we might be able to extract him." I studied the photographs of the meat processing plant. Another industrial site, another accident, another group of workers who'd died and somehow persisted. "What are the rules?" I asked. "What patterns have you identified?" Agent Morrison distributed folders to everyone. Preliminary observations from thermal imaging and remote sensing. The interior of the building maintains a temperature of -20 degrees, even in summer. The cold radiates from the freezer unit where the 12 workers died. We've documented cold spots moving through the building, sentient patterns, possibly the workers themselves. Entity appearances, I asked. Thermal cameras show humanoid figures, Dr. Park said, pulling up infrared footage. They move slowly, deliberately. They seem drawn to heat sources. When workers entered the building with body temperatures of 98.6 degrees, the entities converged on them. They're trying to warm themselves, I realized, or maybe trying to share their coldness. Either way, contact transforms the living. That's our theory, Dr. Hart agreed, which means the primary rule is obvious. Avoid direct contact with the entities. But we need more specific protocols, entry procedures, extraction methods, containment strategies. Lieutenant Webb spread a building schematic across the table. I'm proposing a 3-person entry team, full thermal protection suits, heated air supply, tethered to an external anchor point so we can pull people out if needed. What about communication? I asked. Radio, standard frequency. But we've noticed interference inside the building, electronic equipment malfunctions, batteries drain rapidly. I thought back to the factory, the way power had failed, the way technology had become unreliable near the entities. Whatever these things are, they affect energy, I said. Thermal energy, electrical energy, they drain it, so we can't rely on electronic equipment. We need backup, systems, old-fashioned methods. Rope signals, Lieutenant Webb said, nodding. 1 tug for status check, 2 tugs for assistance needed, 3 tugs for immediate extraction. We spent the next 4 hours developing protocols, entry procedures, safety margins, emergency extraction plans, rules for interacting with the entities, or rather, rules for avoiding interaction. By evening, we had a preliminary list: Meat Processing Plant Protocol. Draft 1. No entry without full thermal protection suit maintaining body temperature above 90-degree maximum occupancy. 3 personnel at any time. All personnel tethered to external anchor point. Entry duration, maximum 20 minutes. Maintain minimum distance of 15 feet from any cold spot or entity. No physical contact with entities under any circumstances. If a thermal suit integrity compromised, immediate evacuation. No solo operations. Minimum 2-person teams always. Radio communication with external command post every 2 minutes. If communication fails for more than 5 minutes, automatic extraction protocol initiated. It's a start, Dr. Hart said, reviewing the list. But we won't know if these rules are sufficient until we test them. When do we go in? I asked. Tomorrow morning, we'll do a preliminary survey, map the interior, identify entity locations, attempt to locate Daniel Martinez. That night, in the base housing they'd assigned me, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the 12 workers who'd frozen to death, about Daniel Martinez, who'd entered the building and never left, about Phil Chen, who'd come out but wasn't quite alive anymore. The factory had taught me that some boundaries couldn't be crossed, that death created spaces between life and non-life, that rules were the only thing keeping those spaces contained. Now, I was walking into another one of those spaces, armed with nothing but thermal suits and protocols we'd written in an afternoon. I pulled out a notebook and started writing. Not the official protocols, but personal observations. Lessons learned from the factory. Entity behavior patterns to watch for. Entities drawn to what they lost. Warmth, life, normalcy. Entities can mimic human appearance, but details are wrong. Entities bound to location of death, but can project temporarily outside. Entities can influence the living, creating compulsions or calls. Entities exist in spaces where normal physics don't apply. Personal survival rules. Trust your instincts when something feels wrong. Follow official protocols even when they seem excessive. Don't assume entities are malevolent. Some are just lost. Maintain emotional distance, but remember they were human once. Know when to extract and when to persist. Never sacrifice team members to satisfy curiosity. I added one more note at the bottom. The goal isn't just survival, it's containment. It's protecting the living from spaces that shouldn't exist. It's maintaining boundaries. The entry dawn came cold and gray. The team assembled at 6 a.m., reviewing equipment and procedures one final time. The thermal suits were bulky, layers of insulation and heating elements designed to maintain body temperature in extreme cold. We looked like astronauts preparing for a spacewalk. Lieutenant Webb checked my suit seals personally. Remember, you're the civilian here. If I call for extraction, you follow orders, no heroics. Understood. Agent Morrison was running technical support from the mobile command post, a van parked outside the facility. Dr. Park would monitor thermal imaging and energy readings. Lieutenant Webb, another security specialist named Officer Jenna Rodriguez, and I would make the entry. The building loomed before us, windows dark and empty. Even from outside, I could feel the cold radiating from it. The temperature was 65 degrees Fahrenheit in the morning sun, but within 10 feet of the building's entrance it dropped to 40. Thermal scans show multiple cold spots inside, Dr. Park reported over the radio, concentrated in the freezer unit area, but mobile patterns throughout the structure. We approached the main entrance. Lieutenant Webb cut through the chain securing the doors. The metal was so cold it burned even through his insulated gloves. The doors opened with a groan of frozen hinges. Inside, the temperature plummeted immediately. My suit's heating elements kicked into overdrive, struggling to maintain warmth. Our breath fogged in the air despite the suit's closed systems. The interior was exactly what you'd expect from an abandoned meat processing plant. Rusted equipment, concrete floors stained with decades of blood and chemicals, hooks hanging from ceiling-mounted tracks, and cold. So cold it felt alive. "Command post, this is entry team," Lieutenant Webb radioed. "We're inside. Temperature reading is -18 degrees. Proceeding to main processing floor." We moved slowly, methodically, our tether rope paying out behind us. Every 20 feet, Lieutenant Webb attached a glow stick to mark our path. Not electronic, chemical light sticks that couldn't fail due to battery drain or interference. The main processing floor opened up before us, a vast space filled with defunct machinery and shadows. Our flashlight beams cut through the darkness, revealing frost covering every surface. Ice crystals hung in the air, catching the light like tiny stars. "Contact," Officer Rodriguez whispered, pointing. 50 feet ahead, a figure stood motionless near one of the old cutting stations, humanoid shape, wearing what looked like the coveralls the workers would have worn in 1993. But the details were wrong. The figure was too still, too pale, and frost formed patterns across its clothing that moved despite no wind. "Entity identified," Lieutenant Webb reported, "maintaining safe distance per protocol." We circled around the figure, giving it a wide berth. It didn't move, didn't track our passage, just stood there, frozen in time and space. As we passed, I looked at its face. A man, maybe 40 years old when he died. His expression wasn't angry or sad, just waiting. Like he'd been standing there for 30 years, waiting for something. "Freezer unit ahead," Lieutenant Webb said. "That's where they died, where the incident originated." The massive walk-in freezer dominated the back wall. Its door hung open, and from within, cold radiated with almost physical force. Even through my thermal suit, I felt it. A wrongness. A space that had been transformed by death and cold and time into something that defied natural law. "We shouldn't go in there," I said. "The cold will overwhelm our suits." "Thermal readings show anomalous activity inside," Dr. Park's voice crackled over the radio. "Energy signature is off the charts. Whatever happened here, the freezer is ground zero." "Daniel Martinez could be inside," Officer Rodriguez pointed out. "If we're going to find him, that's where he'd be." I thought about the north wing at the factory, the chained doors, the warnings scratched into concrete. Some spaces should remain sealed. "Negative," Lieutenant Webb decided. "We don't have adequate protection to enter the freezer. We'll document and extract. Tomorrow we come back with better equipment if necessary." We began photographing the area, documenting entity locations, mapping the interior. The work was methodical, professional. We were making progress. Then Officer Rodriguez's radio stopped working. "Command post, this is Rodriguez, radio check." Silence. "Command post, do you copy?" Lieutenant Webb tried his radio. Same result. Dead air. "Electronics failure," he said calmly. "Standard interference. Protocol dictates we extract." But before we could move, the figure we'd passed earlier, the one standing motionless by the cutting station, turned its head to look at us. Not a smooth, natural movement. A jerky, stuttering rotation, like a video with missing frames. Then it spoke, a voice like wind over ice. "You're warm, we're so cold, please. We're so cold." "Maintain distance," Lieutenant Webb ordered, his hand on his sidearm. "Do not engage." But more figures were emerging from the shadows. 8, 9, 10 of them, moving with that same stuttering, unnatural gait, all wearing the coveralls of meat processing workers, all covered in frost. "We just want to be warm again," one of them said. A woman, younger than the others. "Please help us be warm." They were converging on us, not quickly, but deliberately, purposefully. "Extraction," Lieutenant Webb said flatly. "Now." We turned and ran for the entrance, following our tether rope and the glow sticks. Behind us, the entities moved faster. Not running, their movement was still wrong, still stuttering, but covering ground with impossible speed. Officer Rodriguez was in the lead. She reached the main entrance first and slammed into the doors. They were frozen shut. "Go, go, go!" Lieutenant Webb shouted, changing direction. "Secondary exit, south wall." We ran through corridors we hadn't mapped, away from the entities but also away from our planned exit route. The tether rope snapped, our anchor point lost. My thermal suit alarms were blaring. The heating elements couldn't keep up with the cold. My core temperature was dropping. 60 seconds until hypothermia risk. 45 seconds. Lieutenant Webb found a door, kicked it open, daylight beyond. We tumbled out into the parking lot, gasping, frost forming on our suit exteriors. Agent Morrison and Dr. Park ran to us from the command post. "Are you okay? What happened? You've been in there for 43 minutes. 43 minutes. Officer Rodriguez stared at her watch. The hands had stopped. It felt like 15 at most. Time distortion. Another anomaly, another entry for the protocol list. We retreated to the command post, stripping off thermal suits, checking for injuries or signs of transformation. Our core temperatures had all dropped below safe levels, but we were recovering normally. No signs of the cold permanence that had affected Phil Chen. "The entities are active," Lieutenant Webb reported. "They're aware of intruders, they communicate, and they want warmth. They're drawn to body heat aggressively." "The main entrance froze shut while we were inside," I added. "The building itself may be trying to trap people. Or the entities can control their environment." Dr. Hart arrived 20 minutes later in a black SUV. We briefed her on everything. "Daniel Martinez has been in there for 6 months," she said quietly. If he's still present, he's not human anymore. We need to assume he's become one of them. What about Phil Chen? I asked. He came out transformed. Is there a way to reverse the process? We're studying that. So far, no success. Whatever the transformation is, it's not simple hypothermia. It's fundamental change at a cellular level. We spent the rest of the day analyzing data, reviewing thermal imaging, and updating protocols. The entry had given us valuable information, but it had also revealed how dangerous the site truly was. That evening, as the team dispersed to rest and prepare for the next day's planning session, I returned to my quarters and found an envelope slipped under my door. No marking, no stamp, just an envelope. Inside was a photograph of the meat processing plant's interior. But this photo wasn't from our entry. It was old, dated 1993 based on the timestamp in the corner. It showed 12 workers standing in front of the freezer unit, all smiling, all alive. Someone had drawn circles around their faces and written names. These 12 are still inside. They want to be found. They want to be warm. Help them. The handwriting was shaky, desperate. I turned the photograph over. On the back, one more message. I'm Daniel Martinez. I've been trying to leave for 6 months, but I can't. I'm too cold now. Help the others. Don't let more people become like us. I stared at that message for a long time. Daniel Martinez had retained enough of himself to write notes, to slip them under doors, to ask for help, which meant maybe the others could be helped too. Maybe containment wasn't the only option. Maybe there was a way to free them. Or maybe that was exactly the kind of thinking that got supervisors killed or transformed. I looked at the photograph again. 12 workers. 12 entities now trapped in an endless cycle of cold and longing. The rules said, maintain distance. The rules said, don't engage. The rules said, containment over rescue. But the rules had been written before we understood what these entities wanted, what they needed. Tomorrow, I'd present a new idea to Dr. Hart and the team. Tomorrow, we'd discuss whether the goal should be containment or release. Tomorrow, we'd decide if we were jailers or rescuers. But tonight, I filed that photograph with my notes, adding one more observation. Entities can retain human consciousness and communication ability even after transformation. Question: is transformation reversible? Is release possible? Or is containment the only mercy we can offer? The answer to that question would determine everything that came next. And that's how it ended, or so we assume for now. If this tale kept you on edge, like and share it with a friend who dares to listen, then subscribe for more eerie nights like this one. Thanks for unwinding with me. Sleep tight if you can, and remember, follow the rules. Always.